All right, not a problem. So thinking we wait on them, but there's really no need for that. She'll be here every time we get ready to start the business. I don't see anybody I need to welcome. I think all of us are part of normal attendees. So, I'll call this meeting to order and ask you to stand with me for word of prayer. Father God, our Father, is once again that we stop and just take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for life, health, and strength. Thank you for allowing us to come together as concerned citizens of this county. Our Father, we ask that you be with us. Father, we ask that you bless each and every one that's here, not only the ones that's here, but bless this entire world. And our Father, we ask that you get into our minds that we may make the right and proper decisions for the upbuilding of this county. And our Father will be so pleased to give you all the praise and honor. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. We'll wait on such as just one more moment here before we do the approval of the minutes for June 6th and June 20th. I'm assuming that everybody has looked over them. If you have not, take a moment to look over them, and I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Hi, Cynthia.
Hello. Hi, Cynthia. I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Kenneth to approve.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, start with you, Stephanie.
I'm sorry, yes,
Yes.
I did read them. Well, at home, so yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Minutes are approved for June 6, 2023 and June 20 for our public hearing. Before we get started, a little bit of update on last night's commissioners meeting. For those of you that work in attendance, everything that we brought forth before them was approved except for one. And it was not disapproved, it was just delayed. The one on Highway 29, the house is almost sitting in the road. There was some concern that we might be in conflict with state law. So, even though we approved it, they wanted to do more investigation and find out if state law prohibited tearing the old building down and building a new building. And also if the septic system will be in compliance. It will be in compliance with the old building, but if you tore it down and built a new one, would it be in compliance? So they delayed it until the first meeting in August to make that decision. Okay. Also, they discussed, which is number 2 on the old business, they approved the moratorium for the rest of the year on the dog kennels. So the staff and the planning and zoning has from now until the end of the year to come up with the appropriate things for the dog kennels. Any questions about that?
So what's our charge, sir?
What's our charge?
Yes, sir.
Our charge is to fix it. And
Under your leadership.
yes, and we're waiting on, we will be depending on the staff to give us recommendations as to how to put together the dog kennel policy based on looking at other counties and what they do and that kind of thing. So that's what we're,
Is this something that we're, with other things that we're looking to attack pretty quickly, or are we waiting on the third party?
With kennels,
go ahead.
with kennels, this would be something that we need to attack prior to a rewrite. We're still out for searching, which company would be best, waiting on the Board of Commissioners to issue a RFP on it to give potential candidates for the rewrite, the guideline for what they're looking for. So wheels of government turn slow and squeakily. So we'll take the big bite and delve into this as well. If there are any concerns or things that have stood out to y'all in the recent kennels, puppy mills, training facilities that we've addressed that have just rubbed y'all the wrong way, or if y'all have any insight, please email me and let me know what y'all's concerns are. As well as, it's one thing to go and look around, it's another thing is, I know, say Mr. Canolas, if you told me I'm worried about how we're handling fecal matter if it's over a certain amount of dogs, that's something I know, okay, let me see what other counties are doing for fecal matter, dog size, noise control, setbacks, that sort of thing.
Well, mine is the number,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
the number of dogs that would not be, I mean, like, that, 200 was way over
Yeah.
whatever she had. But what would be a good number that would fit the county and the kennel or whatever? And how do you separate, because the one, had his own dog, which was about 10,
Mm-hmm.
and then he had his kennel, so how do we,
Separate a personal dog
and-
on the premises
yeah.
from a kennel
so
dog.
they can be not a nuisance either,
Yes, ma'am.
and,
Some counties can see things, no.
That's all right, Brandon, go ahead and answer the question.
Some counties have went to just total number of dogs on a parcel, is how they look at it. I sort of saw this coming last July, when we, were starting the ag change, or the acreage change with A1 intense agriculture parcels, and A2 not so intense, but still ag, to where, just like having a poultry house, a hog parlor, or a CAFO, you have to have an A1 with 25 to meet your standards for setbacks, not only for noise, but for smell with a poultry farm, for example, tree lines, things like that. And I didn't create an overlap in kennels as a conditional use because of that. My future plans at that point in time were, when this did come up, that if you have over a certain amount of dogs, that we have the possibility to say you need an A1 just like a commercial poultry farm, to where you have to have 25 acres to meet greater setbacks for running a larger kennel, versus somebody that has 4 girls and a boy, and they're breeding and showing, or something like that. It's not a commercial operation or an intense operation. And if y'all, at any point in time, you want to go and look at any of the 33 registered kennels in the state, get with me and we'll do a field trip. Out to some of them, if you've never been to Shake Rag, that is a shining example in Northeast Georgia for how a kennel should operate. They have over 200 dogs on site. It's on a 200-acre A1. They have their own septic system designed by the University of Georgia. It's prestigious.
Where is this?
Off of East Commerce Road, sir.
Okay.
Shake Rag Fox Hunting Club. And they have other sites. There's another site, not where they raise dogs, but Shake Rag. Y'all might see this little fox with an English horseback riding helmet on it. There's one outside of Carlton. There's one outside of Hartwell. There's several in Stevens County.
Bruce, you had a question?
Yes.
Well, just, 2 quick questions. One is maybe possible options. I was thinking that a local veterinarian might be, very, a good counselor in some of this stuff. A local, somebody like, Tyson Strickland, I was just kind of wondering if there was a chapter or something in his medical, syllabus that would have covered kennels and they know what the optimum environment for a dog should be. I mean, that's an integral part of maintaining the health of the dog, So, I mean, I think that's an easy access, perhaps. And the second thing is, the inspectors that goes around to kennels inspecting them,
Yes, sir.
where does he get trained and does that person
I used to
have
be one of
a
them.
perfect, set up kennel thing? As it were, a straw man that you're supposed to try to achieve.
Yes. Any vet, more than happy to have them come in, even though their guidelines are set by the state veterinarian, the Department of Agriculture. And so they're going to fall back to what the Department of Ag says. And you have the state vet, you have the assistant state vet, and you have 4 primary vets that are field vets for the Department of Agriculture that handle the state of Georgia, from fish all the way up to ostriches, and we have 3 deer farms in the state of Georgia. They cover everything. So having their input for what they see around here, I'm not against hearing it, or possibly when we do a conditional use, having a vet report of the local area if there's an increase in ringworm in the ground or rabies in a certain area, genetic flaws that they've seen through crossbreeding in this area. This wouldn't be a good thing. We can definitely bring in expert opinion, so to say, into it. The county attorney is going to always focus us to follow the state guidelines, but they're so vague and they don't fit, in my opinion, each and every community. Obviously, what they allow inside of Fulton County dense population is a lot different than something, say, Gilmer County, where they have less than 10,000 citizens in the entire county. So having local input, I would definitely.
So whatever we come up with, are we required to have a public hearing?
Yes, sir. It'd be a change of.
So therefore, we will get the input from the public as well as to what all we think.
I think we need to have it set so many, the different acres, say like A2 has, maximum dog you have on A2, and A1 have a certain amount on that. We need to break it down in different rezones of how many dogs you can have if you have a kennel like that.
I definitely agree with that 100% with the setbacks and the acreage for noise, smell, and handling it. One thing I'll let y'all know that stands out in particular to me about kennels in the state is also cats, birds. It's going to cover a wide gambit using the standard terminology, which saves us as a county in case somebody wants to come in and breed canaries or something like that could carry some communicable disease. But mortality and waste is a big thing. When you're talking 4 or 5 dogs, numbers, they poop. It's not something insurmountable. But if you get 30 dogs, you're talking about a lot of poop and what have you to be able to handle appropriately. And canines in particular, it's not a compostable for reapplication, for gardening purposes, and what have you. And then with anything, and one thing in particular, the puppy mill that we just handled off of 191, there was nothing in place to take care of mortality. So any poultry farm, you've got a pit, a death pit, you've got an incinerator, you've got to compost something to handle that mortality. That's a lot of dead puppies in this county, and if y'all have never seen the pit that we have in the county for disposal that we put in place 2.5 years ago, up to 160 or 180 pounds, sorry, I can't remember the top of my head, it gets filled up constantly over at the transfer station. So we're digging new pits every day that have to be GDA approved for animal disposal. It gets crazy.
One thing I would like to ask as a staff is that as we move along and make changes, that we make small changes or not necessarily approve it, but, you know, let us work on small stuff in increments, not just bring the whole thing and say, here it is.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's one reason I did
You know,
ask
that's-
for.
because we got from now till January 1. All right, anything else on dog kennels, any more discussion? Not, we will go into our new business, and Ms. Tracy, what's up to you?
All righty. Last one note here. All right, the first one, we have a rezone request from Curtis Whitzel, and he is requesting to rezone 6.8 acres from business to agricultural residential to return the property back to a residential zone to sell it. The property is located at 1045 Crawford W. Long Street in Danielsville on map 53, parcel 39 in District 2. And Mr. Whitzel has operated a business, it was a construction business, out of this house for years until he retired in April of 22. The previous owner is actually the one that had it rezoned to business prior to him purchasing it and operating his business. So he's found it, he's had it on the market trying to sell it as a business property. He's not been successful at all. He's been waiting until the moratorium has been over to be allowed to try to rezone this back to residential. So he's, in his opinion, has lost lots of money having to wait. But he's wanting to return it to residential in hopes of selling it as a home.
Atop of this, also when you go out to the property to look at it, and other considerations that's being brought up to me by various people is there's other businesses that have developed around him as well. The bonding company, there's a new construction company down in the hole. I call it the triangle if you're headed towards Isla there on the left. So it's going to be a close call with character areas backing up to the city with this one. Where is it going to be better business or residential because it has both around it. There is a home on site as well.
Nobody lives in the home right now.
No, I believe he.
That was the business part of it, that was the business.
No.
Any questions about this one, or
Well,
comments?
so this one map we have though, I'm not seeing a whole lot of business around it.
Can you pull that around just a little bit, Chris, if you don't mind?
Sorry.
Just a little over that.
Perfect.
Business, that was rezoned business. Business, all through the 98 corridor.
Okay, I get what, I mean, we just we can't see them on this.
The city limits are right in this area.
Okay.
Well, I guess it looks white, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Business on the front. Also a consideration, in case y'all didn't know, with the rec department and some of the property that's being donated over for future construction is also right here. So just think about the noise and everything like that, adding even more residential closer to it. It's not designed, or it's not designated as a community area or anything on our comp plan map, but it is, a lot of noise, a lot of t-ball games, a lot of sporting events over there. They also have the rifle range or gun range on the property here off of Veterans Drive. We already get calls about it as well.
Yes, sir.
Good information. I have a vague memory of what that land is at that spot. But what makes the gentleman, think that it would be more, sellable as residential? Is it a particularly desirable kind of a lot?
I've had a lot of conversations with him. So, because it has a house on it, somebody could buy it, put an ADU on it, because there's enough acreage at this point in time to put a second home on it as taxable income.
Mm-hmm.
That's his draw during the housing boom. Everybody was wanting a house or property to build, a little extra money or rental property or something off of it. Because it is 6.5 acres, something like that, 6+ acres.
Yeah, 6.8 acres,
So there's
almost 7.
So it's across from the library, it's across from the.
Is it was the doctor's office or something?
No, it's
No,
right.
there's a different one.
It's a home, and it's got, if I remember right, 3 bays,
Okay.
or 4 bays. Looked to me more like a car garage, but I'm sure it's where you pulled in equipment and things of that
Is
nature.
that considered a historic home? It's the one with the peaks on it,
It
right?
is.
Are you
So,
wanting to maintain it as a historic home in any way? Is that coming?
That's never come up in conversation between us, but we've had many conversations over the past 18 months.
Oh, yeah.
is it,
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, real quick, Mr. Patrick, do you know how what and when he attained business designation as his own?
He didn't actually tell me that. I just know it was several years. It was a construction company office. And I know he was there for several years, but I don't know the exact.
I'll just make that right next to you. We can tell you in just a second.
so,
While you're looking it up, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I was just gonna, inform, I'm going to recuse myself on this particular one during the moratorium. Mr. Witzel, I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, reached out to me asking questions in regards to the moratorium and when it was gonna be over and all this kind of stuff. And I'm in the line of work, I'm a real estate agent, and I talked to him in regards to this property with some of the questions that y'all are. So I don't have any interest, there's nothing to hide, saying it on the front side, but I did speak to him, and I still don't know what he looks like, so, but he did call me repetitively during this, wanting to know when this was gonna be up. It was hurting him. I told him I don't represent the district, tried to point him in the right direction for those that make those decisions, but,
so wait, you said it's not across from the library?
you know where the bonding company is in the triangle? It's gonna be across, it's on General Daniel,
Oh, okay.
so across from W probably won't, so it's,
So the
yeah.
library,
Oh.
that way.
Kind of a Victorian looking house, and
Oh,
it had,
yeah.
and the house had been on the market for a long time. It was cross-posted as a residential requiring a rezone and listed as a commercial property as well.
Cause I thought he fixed that up. There was the work done on that house.
It's been years since you had picked it down at 8.
Lee, did he reach out to you?
He did reach out to Terry, though, your commissioner.
And that's who I pointed him towards. And once again, I don't know him, but that's who I said that, we're a recommending body, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Reminded of that a lot.
so it appears on the tax basis that he took ownership, in 2000 on the property.
So
And it was already B at that point.
My understanding from talking to him that part of the sale, to him, that it would be rezoned business for him to purchase it.
And the house is a 1890.
So it's business now, and there was a construction company that had bought it, you're saying that?
No, the man that owns it, having been construction.
Oh, okay.
He brought it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So it was never a business.
He ran a business.
He has only ran a business out of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, any other questions on this one? All right, Ms. Tracy.
All right, next up, we have got Mr. Ralph Power, and he's requesting to rezone his 9.32 acres from A1 to AR to split the property back into 2 separate parcels of 4.61 and 4.71 acres for tax purposes. property is located, has no address, 0 Highway 98 East in Danielsville on map 68, parcel 27 in District 2. And what's happened here was, in April of last year, he decided to combine those tracts of lands to help save on his taxes. It's a vacant lot, he does farming off of it. So he was thinking, okay, I'll put it into one tract to save taxes. Well, he was informed in March of this year that he had breached his CUBA contract by putting those together. So in order for him to not have to pay this enormous penalty, the tax assessors or property valuation has given him the opportunity to make corrective measures, and if he can get this split back in 2 parts, that they will drop the penalties and he would not be breached. So that is it in a nutshell.
Sorry.
So,
I've spoken about this before, because this is a huge concern to me, but you put in a step where this shouldn't happen again? Is that my understanding?
We have had steps in place for it, prior to a lot of this, but it was always with parcel divisions, not combinations. The county has always welcomed larger parcels. So, on the checklist for parcel division to make it smaller, yep, we've got it in place. Bring them back together, it's now in place.
mm-hmm.
But one thing for him to consider, and I'm not trying to spend his money or anything, I think it was an honest mistake, is he is conducting intense agriculture, row cropping on it. And if we do zone it back to AR, there are some practices he will not be able to continue on.
That's what I was thinking, if he does that, then, does he realize that?
So
But with it being a small tract, I mean,
somebody fussed about it, code enforcement would go out and he'd be in court. So I think I just mean to put that out there as a fair consideration when handling this one.
He could leave it as A1 because it was A1 to start with.
He already combined it,
yeah.
Yeah.
so if he takes it back,
If he takes it back, it won't be A1 again, it'll be AR.
Yes, sir.
Was this not, because he'd like to answer this, was this not explained to him that he was breaching when he first did it?
I think they've asked.
And the next one after this one, Mr. Hicks, is exactly the same.
Same thing, yeah.
A lot of people tried to combine parcels that they had in a CUBA contract, which is a contract that doesn't run through planning and zoning
No.
office or building inspection or anything else. It's all with them. We try to help them as best we can, but it's hard to know every citizen's, every contract that they have on their property. But, we have put steps in place to where now there's a list that you have to have signed off on by the planning and zoning office, by the tax commissioner's office, and by property evaluation before we will approve a new plat.
Well, like property evaluation would have warned them prior to
But
this.
they don't know it until the deed or the plat comes through. There's not a checkoff on it. There is a plat checkoff for property valuation.
And it's been in place for February of last year.
For us that,
So these are,
for us that don't know all these acronyms, is it, what did you say, CUBA?
CUBA.
Cuba.
Conservation, yeah, I know now, but, it's CUBA.
CUBA.
That's what you
CUBA. I just feel like this one may turn badly because of what he's conducting on there now, and he's not gonna be able to. I mean, homeowner is always mostly at fault, but for 2 of them to happen around the same time, that's where it kinda, I thought something happened here.
The the timelines are very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you took that to sell.
And I suppose they focused on saving taxes more than anything else.
Yes, sir. They wanted to save, I want to save on taxes too, no blame her, but, they entered the CUBA to save on taxes. They tried to save on taxes again by combining the parcels instead of paying two separate parcel taxes. And hindsight's 20/20 for some of these cases.
Will this updated computer system that we're investing in help alleviate as well as the things that we've been enabled here as far as, will that be flagged when we pull up a parcel or anything like that, if there's existing CUBA?
No, because, property evaluation uses WinGap, which is where Key Public's pulled from, and the Edmund software is not a partner with WinGap.
Is
So it's
GIS a partner with that?
We do our own GSI mapping. We have a GSI mapper that uses internal software and then uploads it to WinGap.
Well, we get business.
But it was non-conforming A1, so if that helps any, it is bringing it into compliance.
Well, number 2 does, but you know, he just mentioned that number 3 is on the same thing, but, and then it's over 25 acres. So there's no conformity to that
He
one.
was grandfathered, now he's not.
We've seen a lot of controversy in the selling of property to recombine, but home parcels in CUBA, even though it's being sold, there's a lot of this in the forestry around Carlton right now that has some major fun to handle in the office.
These two ought to be very interesting. All right, anything else on those? You want to go number 3, or have we got enough discussion on 3?
All right, I
Since they're basically the same thing.
Yeah. Except this one's going to A2 instead of AR.
Yeah. Not as many hangups on this one. By voting on this one, the only thing they couldn't do is the poultry farm. Only they could still do intense crop or cattle or anything like that.
Just before we move on, has he been told, or has the discussion occurred as to, you could, you know, if this happens, you can only do this, and this?
Number 2 or number 3?
Number 2.
Number 2, not him. He just wants to get out. He doesn't care. He just doesn't want to pay the penalty.
he's got a pretty big penalty he's facing.
Oh, yeah.
When you say that he may not be able to do, I think you used the term row crop, are you saying that growing hay, is that considered row crops? Because that's what he's doing out
Fine line.
Yeah.
When you hit AR.
Okay.
You can always sell it. Put a house on it.
Okay.
All right, so we jump into number 4?
Yes.
Okay. Let me get scrolled up here. All righty. Next up is Robert and Diane Briggs, and they're requesting to rezone their 8 acres from A1 to AR to allow a second home to be placed on the property for their son as an accessory dwelling unit. Property is located at 230 Buford Carey Road in Danielsville on map 13, parcel 3203 in District 1. And they do not want to survey the land out, you know, cut him off track due to some financing that their home is currently under. They recently built the home last year and was under the impression that we had told them that they could do this without anything, and even tried
I haven't talked to these.
to go for vested rights. Remember, they tried to get vested rights. So they're a little upset with us, and they were saying someone told them they could do this, but in an A1, you cannot have 2 homes because you have to have at least 25 acres. So their only option is to rezone to AR, to allow that second home.
But they're not willing to split into 2 4-acre tracts.
Right.
So we don't require a certain,
They're just wanting to keep it as an accessory dwelling unit and not split it.
oh. But still, you'd have to know where to put that. Is there a second home already?
No, they're wanting to, they'll have to rezone and it be approved to allow that second home.
Well,
Survey to
They haven't
find
been
out
able to
where
work
to
the
put that.
timeline though, right?
Yeah, that's correct. What they did, you sent Mike and he said it was not.
well, we had a lot of discussion about accessory dwelling. So,
Those are kind of dwindling, just to let you know for future. The
Don't put
ones
that
I-
juju out there.
I know, really. I've not been hearing them as much, so. That one's that
Then also by not splitting it, they don't have
Little
to pay
easier.
the property tax as well.
all these.
one. So I think the home's gonna be about right here.
Not splitting it, they what?
They wouldn't have to pay the 2 parcel property tax, each parcel has its own separate tax, and then the acreage as
See,
well.
the site plan is up here where that second home is gonna be.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Now, another kicker for this one, they're wanting to do a shared drive as well, instead of having a separate drive.
Wouldn't that kind of fit with it being an accessory dwelling?
Say that one more time,
I
sorry.
said, wouldn't that kind of fit with it being an accessory dwelling?
It would, until they do need to split it for money. Then we'd have a private drive, a true private drive.
I understand.
And our driveway ordinance and private drive issues, it's not
Hasn't been voted on.
approved.
Do they have,
We got
is there an
complications.
alternative to the driveway?
We do. And what I brought up with this,
That's next Tuesday too.
No, this drive goes to the house.
They have enough frontage to put in the second drive.
Okay.
They don't have enough frontage.
They do.
Oh, they do.
So, just throwing the idea out for a condition on the rezone,
Yeah.
possibly putting in a second drive.
But other than that, it pretty much fits the criteria, I mean, for an AR, right?
Yes. In its typical area, you see all those lawfully non-conforming A2s that abut it, and the lawfully non-conforming A1s right next to it on the road frontage.
Okay, any additional questions on this one? All right.
Okay. All right, next up, we have Sandra Smith, and Chris Smith, her son, is applicant for Sandra Smith, is requesting to rezone for 11.88 acres from A2 to AR to divide the property into 3 tracts for inheritance purposes for her children. Property is located, there's no street address, 72 East in Comer, map 106, parcel 66 in District 4. And I will pull it.
Power on it, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Was this an earlier request or is this
This is before the 4 acres.
before the 4 acres?
Yes, yes, I included that on the analysis, that this was received prior to the, our deadline. So it's exempt from the 4 acre minimum. But, she's just a widow, and she's just wanting to get her affairs in order and split the children out, 3 people. And I think that children already live there, so they're just getting it added to their existing home site.
It would be a good condition if y'all do approve it. Just one concern when y'all do go out to look at it, or when you're looking on the maps, there is a cell tower on the property, and we do have guidelines for the cell tower meeting property line setbacks. From the anchor points, they have to be 100 foot from the property line, and
So this is a cell.
we've got a small issue up here with their first draft that they sent in to us.
But they can actually move that and make that one in the center smaller, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know
But
how
they
the
are
percentages are inherited,
very-
but
Okay, so there are no homes on these properties. There's no homes on these properties.
Not on the three that they're talking in the back, all the homes are on the road frontage.
Oh, okay.
Well, they got-
Can you read the?
They gotta follow the rules.
The amount of road frontage on that particular map, because I can't on mine, I just wondered what it is.
I'm gonna try to zoom on in. Well, I'm trying.
I'm gonna do the best I can here. And looks like 79 feet or 74, maybe.
No, I just
Is that the private drive though?
This is the drive to gain access to it.
Yeah.
all the others have road frontage, but that one, which is his own property. Is that, he's not being used.
So they want to just put the back part of their property,
Yes.
because they're already have 3 separate lots
Right.
already.
And they just
They're
have
just
it to the back.
So this is their granddaughter that wants to build a house on one?
Yeah.
This isn't that, okay.
So how would, if they're gonna build houses back there on the extension?
They're not planning on building, they just want the acreage.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, how would they
Right
get,
now, they're not planning to build.
but they wouldn't, how would they get back there? Because that's a cell tower access.
Yeah, through here, so they would have to create an easement through one property to gain access to another where the cell tower is at. And we've had this conversation with them trying to cut this parcel and kind of bootleg this one, but
They won't budge.
And they didn't have a surveyor to actually do this, this is their hand-drawn version.
What do you mean they won't budge? Like, they have to, like, right?
They gotta follow the rules, period.
So, I mean, there's no,
Well,
It's kinda like, they don't understand English.
well, depending on, this could be totally wrong too. They probably end up needing to get a survey so they can have accurate.
probably, we'll lead back, but we're still at a public hearing. They want it their way, that they've demonstrated in this drawing, and that's the way it's gonna be until they tell them otherwise. I don't know of a lighter.
Do they have, what sort of agreement do they have with the cell tower?
That's what I was gonna say.
One dark-haired guy that's, the dark-haired,
Oh, Christopher, his name is, Chris.
Chris, he's the one that's actually got the contract, is our understanding, and I wanna say this is his home, if I remember correctly.
I believe that's right.
Up on the upper side up there, there's a note about access to that particular parcel down the side of that, property line.
Yes,
What's that about?
he, got a name.
Parcel will be accessed by this front parcel, same property
So the
owner.
person owning that would not want to use that.
Cause see, it's blocked off, he's not, you know,
Essentially, the three inheritance live here. If we did a rezone or had them redraw it, I would recommend the condition that these parcels be combined
yeah,
with the home parcel to where we weren't creating a landlocked parcel.
So the parcels that are in front, boarding the, on the roadway, that's the person that's gonna be getting the property behind it. Okay, well, I can see combining the properties.
Yeah, I thought that's what they were gonna do, they were just extending their property. No, they wanna split the back property into 3. And then, yeah, you would be landlocked unless you have that access through that cell tower.
That's why you just got the driveway in there like that.
Well, that still wouldn't get to those other two unless they access it through the
Right.
cell tower. So that still wouldn't, that's just access to one.
Well, how about properties 1 and 2? You got one,
Yes, they
one
have-
child and one child and 2, and then the 4.6, who's gonna get what?
Our understanding, this child's getting this one, this child's getting this, and this child's getting this one.
Well, who lives in that other?
How about in 1? I mean, track.
Is not involved in this.
It's not involved at all.
My understanding.
But it is a separate parcel owned by Christopher M. Smith, which is the actual physical address of the applicant.
But it's not part of the estate being split.
Okay.
So,
But when this was done in reference to the deed, I think is how they tracked it out, without having the deed in front of it. I'm not sure how this came to be that 0.3 some acres.
so,
Do you know why they would
Well,
not
it's
want to
somewhere-
combine the properties to make those just 3
This was the
distinct
original
properties?
plat.
What's the reason? Don't know.
We have not had
This is the
positive
original.
conversation at this point in time.
Doesn't sound like you.
so our consideration is that they just want to split their three baskets. And how they access it is not our concern.
Is that possible, though? We're not allowed to create
A landlocked property.
So, so that
I mean, this,
ties our hands.
they just have to be told that this is a condition, if it is approved at all.
And could,
Thick skin will be required later this month.
and could we put a condition on there that they make sure the property line is in compliance with the cell tower?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that.
Property line is in.
Well, They don't wanna go along with that?
Well, this anyway, there's a crucial point there.
How much, did you say they need from the property line to the cell phone tower? 100?
From each anchor point, 100 foot.
100 foot. That's a lot. But that's what it is.
They could rearrange that so they cut more off the backside of it.
That was suggested to them in the office 2 or 3 times.
It's actually it's gonna clean up this road frontage as well, though, once it's done, it's actually gonna make it where it's,
Oh, there's some
It's just
definite
math
positive
right now.
splits to be had, here to increase the usability of all the road frontage, in the back.
All right.
Where you hit waiters.
Mhm.
Next week we'll be in.
Yes, sir.
Bring it up.
This one, I might need to take my family.
I'm just All right.
Video call it.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, next up, Brad Kirk, and that's Commissioner Kirk's son, is applicant for his grandmother Elaine Brown, and he is requesting to rezone a 12-acre portion of her 77.63 acres from A1 to A2 to allow the 12 acres to be split out and gifted to him for a home site. Property is located at 460 Macedonia Church Road in Danielsville, on map 51, parcel 53 in District 4. And they do plan on having a shared drive. It will have an easement. I'm just reading my notes here. It will have an easement and 2 homes, counting, so it'll just be 2 homes on that shared drive.
Kerry, I'll live with this one because he loves easement.
Once again, I know we're talking about easements here, but this is creating a landlocked parcel. I know that there's an easement going to it, but still, is that not considered a landlocked parcel?
No.
No.
Not
Legally, no.
if they have a easement or
That's right.
ingress, egress, it will go with the property forever, so it's not really truly landlocked.
Magic
Yes, it
verbiage
does
right
create a
here.
private drive, and if we were dealing with the new private drive, since it's family, they wouldn't be required to bring it up since it's two homes, family on the drive. However, if they built a third home or maybe they'd have to bring it up to county standard. But we're not there yet. And when y'all do go out, there's two poultry houses, older poultry houses on the property that they're planning to demo there. They're not in use.
What about?
Both of them or one of them?
The two that are on the 12
I
acres.
mean, the two that's over 12 acres.
Yes, sir.
The other one's space,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes, sir.
Tracy, on the paperwork, it says A1 to A2 court. What is
Portion.
portion?
Our field entry is so small, it won't let me write out the whole portion. I just have to put port.
Okay, just making sure.
And it'll leave a conforming A1 property.
Yes.
Okay.
Just any concern about the power transmission line? Okay.
Now, those guidelines are set above anything that we have here.
All right, next up is, Larry Parham, applicant for his daughter Tori Lester, is requesting to rezone 6.72 acres from A1 to AR to allow a second home to be placed on the property for her son to live in on the property with him as an accessory dwelling unit. Now, he is an older gentleman and the grandson is essentially wants to just be there to take care of him. It's kind of a difficult one here. Let me get my notes straight here. So there was some inconsistent information with Q Public. They were showing it as 8.72 acres, but then there's been a 2-acre parcel that was rezoned and split out. And it has a home since '01. So the parcel is actually only 6.72, so that's why that's marked out.
There were two homes on the parcel. This is the only way for them to get a third home on the property.
Right.
His wife works at the rec department. Is this the same one I'm thinking about?
Well, Mr. Parham had a stroke, and so he's turned the land over to Tori, but he's actually gonna be the one representing it, so, even though it's in his daughter's name, it was just done for health reasons. But,
His daughter lives on the 2 acres in the corner.
oh, and one thing, it's in Cuba, so no more than, 2 acres could be cut out for this to keep Cuba and not breach. He can leave it as an ADU, but if he splits it, he will breach it, so.
Question, you said that there were 3 houses on the property. There are 2 now, but didn't you just say that
There's
were,
one up
there
here.
were 2, but now there's gonna be a third?
No,
If we don't split it. But there won't fit a third on the property for the side.
no, sir, there's a home up here,
Mhm.
and then his home is here, and then Mr. Parham's home is here, and then that's where the grandson comes, it'll just be 2 homes. But Miss Lester lives in a home up here.
The grandson's already built the house.
No, sir, that's for, what we're voting on,
Yeah.
for that second home.
So that portion, that triangle up there really isn't pertinent to this?
Correct, it's just part of, that site plan because they didn't have a surveyor to do one yet. So we just have to use it off the plat. But no, that's in itself a 2-acre tract. That's been split off, it just doesn't show that on this parcel, on this site plan, I'm sorry.
It'll split by the, not by parcel.
Any other questions?
The
All right.
driveway is, it says existing driveway, so this will be a shared drive as well.
The private drive?
When will the driveway ordinance be done?
County staff has tried to get it brought back up for the past 2 months, so, President August, to get a vote on it.
Okay.
All righty. All right, next up, Byron Sexton, and he's requesting to rezone his 18.27 acres from A2 to AR to allow a 3.98 acre, split with an existing home to be sold and to allow a possible additional split for a family member in the future. Property is at 255 Collins Dudley Road in Danielsville on map 61, parcel 34 in District 4. And this is part of this step when we were doing the two-step thing. This is step 2. Now, Mr. Sexton was supposed to be at his March 21st appointment with us, and he missed it due to an emergency with his wife, and Chairman Higdon gave us the okay to go ahead and put it in this month's stack. So basically, he is just there's an old family farmhouse there, and then there's a manufactured home on that, and he's wanting to sell, the manufactured home's on this one, and then the old home place is on that one. And this was received prior to
This was way before.
4 acre change.
All right, I've got to say this. He was a no-show. He didn't call in either prior to or after to give explanation as to why he didn't show.
And I called him.
When you called him, I understand that the reason has come up about he had an emergency, but at the time, he forgot. And if that is the case, if he didn't either call before or after to offer something to us and just didn't say anything, I think, my opinion is he needs to comply with the 6 months.
We're a recommending board,
I understand.
so we can recommend whatever.
I'm just throwing that out there. It's just like we can't.
Well, I hear you.
You can't pick and choose the rules. It's 6 months, and especially, even if he had a legitimate excuse, he didn't offer it until he, no.
Well, we will handle this at the public hearing, but I tend to agree with you. I agree with you.
I was just told to.
Well, you're doing your job, what you told to do.
The decision came from above, planning and zoning.
Okay.
And that's why.
What was it on the split?
Pardon?
How often can you do a split?
A split.
Yeah, I know he's saying future split.
He's saying that since this was family land, it was part of the estate that he bought, that he has one additional family member that may want to come back and cut off a piece of land. So he wanted me to add that verbiage in there, but.
Because he can split it 3 times, right?
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
for a total of 4 parcels. 4 parcels.
Split it 4
Three
times for a
splits.
total of 5. You can split it 4 times to a total of 5 before it hits subdivision regs. We never did change it because we were gonna make it 5 to 6. But let him know that
You can split it 4 times.
So it's still the same. He can split it 4 times, making a total of 5 parcels before he goes into subdivision regs. That's where I was trying to get. When he hits parcel number 5, it puts him in subdivision regs. When you split it 4 times from the parent parcel, creating 5, then you're in subdivision regs.
No, I'm talking about, I thought it was 3 splits,
3
not
years.
4.
It was 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I say, so it's 3 years, he has up to 3 years to split.
Are we talking about years or are we talking about splits?
No, I was talking about years.
I'm talking about splits.
So you can split the property, 1 parent parcel,
Right.
4 times inside of 3 years without hitting major subdivision regs. So when you hit parcel number 5, including the parent parcel, so it's 4 splits from the parent parcel, creating 5 that's in the subdivision regs. So if you split it 3 times, you're in 4 and you're not in subdivision regs.
No, I get that, but it was my understanding that you could only split it 3 times total.
In the life of the parcel.
Within a certain,
I was under that impression.
right, because I think I've talked to you about this before.
In the definitions, it says 3 splits for a total of 4
4 parcels, and if you create the 5th parcel, you're in subdivision.
Right.
So it's 3 splits.
3 splits in the parent parcel, so you've got 4 parcels.
Okay, so it's 3 splits.
When you split it 4 times, including the parent parcel, you create 5, and that gets you in subdivision.
Right.
And then you can split it underneath the subdivision regs within 3 years of the first split. And this is why I was trying to clean up subdivision regs.
All right?
Yeah, that just kind of went.
We'll play Uno later.
right. Number 9.
Okay, number 9. We have got Gloria Cochran, and she is applicant for, she and her daughter, Amy Hill, and requesting to rezone her 31.53 acres from A1 to A2 to allow a 12-acre split for Ms. Cochran's grandson. And it's located at 419 Irving Kirk Road in Danielsville on map 53, parcel 61. And I will say she's got another one, she's got the same exact acreage, 2 different tracts,
That's odd.
same exact acreages, but for the first one, she's wanting a 12-acre split, and for the second one, it's a 10-acre split. So I had to do them as 2 separate. So I've got the site plan for the first one here, and then that's just the 12 acres, and for some reason it whirls around back here through that little,
So that,
Trail.
yellow on that is all the 12 acres.
yes,
So
sir.
both of them be 12 acres.
No, sir, the first one, the number 9 on your agenda list, that's the 12-acre one. And then I can scroll down
Yeah,
to,
okay, I thought, the other was part of it too.
and then the next one is, that's the 10-acre.
They are abutting.
2 different addresses and 2 different
Mm-hmm,
pieces of property exactly the same?
absolutely. She and her husband divorced, and they split it exactly down the middle somehow.
Right down the middle.
Right.
So,
So he's gonna have an odd shape, with that little piece going behind him,
Yeah,
Amy and Chrissy.
if it's wide enough for a lawnmower.
I hope it's 150 foot wide.
That strip,
What, number 9?
Yes,
That's what-
well, that's existing, you want me to go back to the other one? That's an existing part of it, and they're just making the split right here, that's the only new part.
Oh, I thought that was all it was. But all that's gonna be part of the 12 acres,
Yes,
even
yes,
that
ma'am,
little strip.
exactly.
Even a little strip?
And that's an existing part, the only cut is the red line right there.
Oh, okay. So this is already there.
How wide is that strip?
I think it's 108 foot.
Where would you put your, I guess you put it out there. You definitely.
You have concerns with that, Christopher? I mean, you're shaking your head.
No, I'm just trying to figure out who approved the lot that got cut into it, and created that 100.
Over fence post.
Shaking my head at history.
Yeah.
In a barn, there's a barn on there,
in the fort.
Tracy.
Ma'am,
I see in red it says Comer fence post and barn. Is there a barn there on that other?
I think the
You
barn.
looking at 10 or 9?
On 9.
The barn's still not in the parcel.
The barn.
but there's, yeah, the barn is not in that split.
Oh,
There too, I think that's what she's looking at. I think the line that was going, pointing towards it is
it's gone.
fence, yeah.
Okay, what's the Comer fence post?
Corner.
That'd be the corner style for the edge of the property is.
Corner fence code.
Oh, oh.
We have to do some makeshift site plans sometimes. To push.
Question, Tracy. Last month, we had 5, I think.
Mhm.
This month, we have 10.
Mhm.
And these 10 are gonna be like 15, it sounds like, or more. There's some discussion last time that you were only taking so many.
Yes, sir, we're only allowed to take 10 a month, and we would have had 10 last month, but we had 5. You remember I had announced that 5 of them had backed out at the last minute,
Okay.
and that's why we have now implemented, you pay a half of the rezone application fee at the time of your appointment, so that people will be vested in this and not wait to the last minute when I call and remind them about our appointment, and they say, oh, I decided not to do it. You know, and that could have been somebody else, 5 other people bumped up, you know, that's waiting too, because I've got a list a mile long of people that's wanting to rezone. You know, and we can only do 10 a
So the
month.
maximum now is 10.
Yeah, it's always been 10.
We went down during the moratorium, brought it back
Yeah.
up at the end of it. Now when you apply for application, you pay half of the fee. Now, instead of waiting until your interview to pay for it. These 5 pulled out, and we contacted the paper and everything, and we were gonna try to move 5 from this month up into it, but there wasn't enough time to legally advertise.
So these 10 people have been on the list and waiting how long?
Oh, about 4 months.
Curtis Witzel, 18.
Yes, 18. They're just
But Mr.
doing.
Sexton is not. He is in June. And now here he is in July.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure this is quite odd that we're gonna have so much
We got
controversy
10 coming next
with
month.
these 10, so I think it would be wise to be prepared for next week to be here. Hey, wow.
Mhm.
Is there a crisis building if we have these backlogs building up?
Yes, since the moratorium has been released, we have had a tremendous influx of rezone requests. And in fact, we had to start I was already booking into the November and December hearings, and that was at mid-June. I was already booking into November, December. So Christopher, had implemented a policy that I'm not to take any new applications until after August the 1st. So we're not booking so far into the next year. And let me tell you, I dread August the 1st because there's gonna be a line beating down
Will
the
that be
door.
first come, first served?
It will
First come,
be.
first served. And that's the way it was prior to the moratorium, is we had a cutoff date. And we handled 10. Then we opened the door back up and 10 more. During the moratorium, that policy was changed by a higher pay grade to get people lined up coming in. With the housing boom that took place, it wasn't so much the moratorium that caused an influx of rezones. It was the fact that people want to split property and build homes.
For children, most of it is family, parents giving children, that's 90% of it.
The aftermath of the COVID passings, or that mindset that came in, a lot of our surrounding counties are also dealing with it as well.
Okay, any other questions on these rezones? And then we'll move on to the zoning ordinance thing.
Wait a minute, we doing the second one, or we just?
Oh, I thought we covered it already.
We did.
Do you want me to go
The
back?
second one, I was looking at, her house is way back here in the back. So is there a road? Yeah, I know that one will.
So number 10, right?
Number 10,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Number 10 is what you're asking about?
Yeah. I know the one that we're considering has road frontage. I was just concerned, I mean, 'cause.
Yeah.
There's an easement already
Yeah, I
back
was gonna say
there.
that road goes way,
Mhm.
she's way back there.
Mhm.
Back of it. I just was curious how she gets in and out.
If I remember right, when I drove out over there, I believe the center line for the properties is the center of the road bed, coming all the way back.
So he doesn't even need it, he can come right out to the main road.
That's up? All right, moving into the amendments, amending the zoning ordinances.
Okay, well, we, in our going over the zoning ordinance, trying to look at everything, we discovered that a convenience store was listed as a conditional use in A2 and AR properties. And that should not be. I don't know how that was put into the text or onto the chart. It was prior to our time. So we are simply needing to remove that because that should only go in the business zone. So we're just proposing to delete that, and then on our chart, let's see, that's the original, and then we'll just be deleting the conditional use off of our chart. Easy peasy.
So this is something that was just discovered going over, no one has brought it up on the
No.
convenience store.
Correct. I do have a convenience store coming next month, though.
Good.
Not an A1 or an A2.
No.
Would a Dollar General qualify as a convenience store?
No,
Yes,
yeah,
it does.
yes, okay.
Supposed to be in the business district.
And they seem to plop down.
Wherever they want
Every 9 miles, I think.
Yeah. I know some weird number where they want to be within a 9 or 10 mile radius of one another. Their business model
I
is
haven't
nice.
seen one.
So you want to take it out of A1, A2,
A2 and AR.
A2 and AR?
Mhm.
All has to be the business zone.
Correct. It's already listed in the business zone, we just need to clean that up.
We're working through the chart now that we wanted to do at the end of the moratorium and everything, and clean up the charts in there, because there's some things the chart show, but the verbiage doesn't.
Correct.
We want to make sure that we have it in the meat of the ordinance, just not, oh, if you look on this one chart, we're on a gangle.
Okay, anything else? I think that's enough.
I love that.
That's all, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Is that Stephanie?
Yes.
I'll second.
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Y'all want?
We are adjourned. and you can go home and watch the All-Star game.
I gotta pick up something.
Well, I just want to see the first batter in All-Star game, and I'll be all right. After that,
We'll call it at 30 by the time we get it.